Hi, I'm Aubrey Stern. Welcome back to my channel.
You don't have a channel.
Well, if I had a channel, that's what I'd say. Welcome back to my channel. This is 10 questions about me. So I've wanted to start vlogging for some time now, and COVID season has given me all the space that I need to start that. The only problem was I was lacking some inspiration. So my friend Silvia sent me 10 questions to answer about myself.
What was the breaking point of starting your transition?
To be completely candid, throughout my 20s, I had experimented with taking testosterone blockers on and off. Now, testosterone blockers do exactly what they say on the tin. They stop your body producing testosterone. Now, this isn't a safe or sane thing to do. Your body always needs testosterone or estrogen in majority. Otherwise, there are risks of things like osteoporosis, which is the risk of your bones eroding away faster than they can regrow. But unfortunately, these are the kind of things that people like me do when something feels terribly wrong with your body. To answer the question, I had sent my best friend a text message telling her that I'd started taking testosterone blockers again. She'd sent me the same kind of message in reply over the years. Are you sure you don't want to be a girl? Normally, I would send some sort of denial back, except this time I went to go and send the denial and I burst into tears. I just started to cry in the office, and that's when I knew something was really wrong.
What age did you know that you were meant to be a girl?
I'm gonna say single digits. When I look back as an adult, it's much easier to recognize that I felt like something was wrong with my body. I just didn't know how to express that. I never had the desire to use makeup or dress in women's clothes. I just knew that something was deeply wrong with my body, and as a kid, you don't really have the information or arsenal to be able to diagnose these problems yourself.
Who was your biggest inspiration while going through transition?
Easily my best friend. I've known her over 13 years. She's also transgender, and I guess when you're going through things like this, you gravitate towards certain people. I've had the benefit of watching her navigate transition as she's grown up, both the successes and missteps. She's been my champion and she's been my rock so many times. It's funny how often I see her as flawless, but she's always so quick to throw that away and remind me of the times that she failed just to help me. I am truly lucky to have had her supporting me through my transition.
How did you come up to your girlfriend, and what was her first reaction?
Well, I spoke to my girlfriend the same day that I came out to my best friend, and that was the day that I cried at work. This was such a really big moment and I couldn't hide it or put it off. I think Dan's first reaction was really slow, just very much like, okay, we can work through this. She was really cautious because she didn't really know many transgender people and she didn't have a lot of experience, and I guess she didn't know what she was in for. We've definitely had our ups and downs over the last couple of years, but Dan has become incredibly good at supporting me and often saving me from myself. This is a process where sometimes you can have too much ambition and you really need someone to step in and say, too much too soon.
What were you scared the most of?
I was the most scared of losing my friends and my girlfriend. I had no idea how this was going to turn out, and I'm so lucky that I didn't lose any of my friends. I even gained some new ones. The second thing that I was really scared of, and it's probably the thing that put me off transitioning earlier, was my career. I remember the night that I came out to my best friend sitting on a sofa in tears, and I said, I think I'm going to have to give up my career to do this. I have always wanted to be a CTO, and I think that night I had made bones with never achieving that kind of success in my career. I couldn't have been more wrong. Our community and our industry is such an accepting place.
How did it affect your work relationships?
I definitely gained a much higher EQ, and I think that emotional intelligence has evolved along with my emotions. It's enhanced my leadership qualities. My desire to nurture and help people grow has definitely increased. I've also noticed some changes in myself, dynamics that existed as a guy but not as a woman. To explain a little more, and I don't want to generalize, but guys have a tendency to invite themselves or just gravitate. And I've noticed in myself as a woman, I tend to wait for an invitation, which is a really big change because as a guy I would just invite myself to social gatherings. Around the 1 year mark, I noticed that I wasn't being invited to the pub. And I had a really deep think about this. And I thought, is it me or is it them? and I realised that something had changed in me. I'd stopped just going and I'd started waiting for an invitation to be asked. I think also having found a stronger voice in myself, I know when other people in my team are struggling to find a platform and their own voice, and I'm able to help provide that for them and recognise when it's needed. Oh, and crying at work. This is something that started maybe 1 or 2 months after starting hormones. The sudden rush of emotion, happy, sad, puppies, anything would set me off. I also want to say thank you to all the men over the years who've looked after me and dealt with me crying at them. Thank you for understanding that my emotional mastery is closer to that of a 13-year-old.
Have you ever thought of detransitioning?
The only point in this journey, and I've had 3 surgeries now, the only point where I felt like I didn't have the physical resolve to do this was after my first session of laser hair removal. So if you don't know, laser hair removal is marketed as a semi-permanent hair removal solution. It works super well on dark hairs and not so well on light hairs. They describe the pain as uncomfortable and like somebody flicking a rubber band against your skin. What they don't qualify is how hard somebody is flicking that rubber band. I remember being in shock for around 2 hours after that first session. I cried endlessly and I remember thinking, I don't know how I'm going to get through the next 7 sessions. I actually ended up doing 3 years of laser. Breast augmentation was easily my most painful surgery and my face looked a lot worse than it actually was.
If you could done something differently with your journey, what would it be?
Silvia, this is the hardest question of all time. In short, no. I've made some amazing mistakes. I remember the first day I wore a maxi dress and I was so happy. I walked back home from work, about to take the stairs in Canary Wharf, and because nobody had ever told me that I needed to pull my dress up when I walked upstairs, I fell flat on my face. I also didn't know that skirts get shorter when you sit down, so the first time I wore a knee-length skirt and took the tube, I almost had a panic attack when I sat down. I actually realised after sitting down that I didn't know how to gracefully get back up. I think the worst thing that ever happened to me was standing on the tube, rush hour traffic in the middle of summer, and I felt this bead of sweat run down my leg and I just didn't know what the procedure was. I can't tell you how many times I've had to call my girlfriend because I've worn high heels and gone somewhere, messed my feet up so badly that I couldn't walk, and she's had to bring me a pair of trainers to get me home. The too long didn't read of this is that I wouldn't change anything, and I want to thank absolutely everybody who's given me their support over the years.
What is your advice for those people who are in the same situation as you but doesn't have the same financial support?
Find some money because goddamn the shit is expensive. Consider that when you do this, you need to replace your entire wardrobe. I remember being completely shocked at how much makeup cost. I couldn't believe the amount of crap that I had to buy to follow one YouTube tutorial. As an engineer, I really wished there was a Haze manual for makeup, just so I could understand all the layers involved. One of my worst lessons that I learned was about mascara and waterproof mascara. Now, on the first day of my new job as me, full-time, I had waited at Bermondsey to get on the tube. 5 trains had come by and they were so busy I couldn't get on. As you might expect, I burst into tears, and that was the morning that I learned how valuable wearing waterproof mascara actually is. I looked like a panda and I had to go home and redo my makeup from scratch, and I was about 2 hours late for my first day at work. Anyway, clothes, makeup, voice therapy, travel, laser, surgery, electrolysis. I would say north of around £40,000.
Would you like to have a family in the future? What is your overview?
Yes, I want to start a family. The biggest regret that I know a lot of my other transgender friends have was not undertaking fertility preservation before they started their transition. I made sure I did this before I started hormones. It involved 3 trips to Brighton. So yeah, at some point I would love some little Aubreys crawling around, and Dan and I will be fighting for the title of Best Mum. So that's it, folks. Much love from me. If there are any other questions, I would love to hear them. Otherwise, I'm going to go away and think about the next thing to film. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!